peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us. It's just a couple of minutes past the 3 p.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. This is the African Diaspora Dispatches, where I get to bring you the latest news from the continent. My name is Miriam Ogoto, and indeed a very warm welcome to you. And we start with Ethiopia. And Tigrayan fighters have been carrying out house-to-house searches for weapons in the Ethiopian city of Dessie. After taking control of it, a resident has told the BBC. The Tigrayan People's Liberation Front said on Saturday that it had taken the vital, important city, but the federal government dismissed its claims as a propaganda. Now, the residents say the city was quiet. There was talk of fighting in Dessie's outskirts, but they have not had any gunfire, he added. Businesses have shut down and there was no electricity or water, and phone lines were also down. But the witness said that some residents have been making calls by going to higher area in the city. During the house-to-house searches, the Tigrayan fighters also asked whether there was any government soldier in the homes. And still staying in Ethiopia, the top general of Tigrayan fighters, Tzadkan Gebretensai, has ruled out negotiations with the Ethiopian government, saying the war is nearing its end. General Tzadkan was quoted by Tigrayan TV as saying that there's nothing that they can resolve through negotiations. The government communication office has meanwhile accused Tigrayan forces of killing dozens of civilians in Kombolcha town. There is no independent confirmation of the claim, and the rebels have repeatedly denied targeting civilians. We head over to Uganda, and the unvaccinated Ugandan members of parliament will be denied access to the country's parliament building from Monday. Deputy Speaker Anita Among said the move was to demonstrate a good example in support of the government's public health policy. The privately owned Nile Post website reported that Uganda's parliament becomes the third state institution to ban unvaccinated people, following similar moves by the Ministry of Health and the government-run national medical stores. President Yoweri Museveni said last week that many Ugandans were hesitant to get the jab, but expressed hope that some 12 million residents will be vaccinated by the end of December. So far, more than 3 million vaccine doses have been given countrywide, and the East African nation has so far suffered just over 3,000 COVID-19 deaths, according to the government reports. We go to Algeria, where the country has now stopped gas exports through a pipeline that crosses neighboring Morocco because of a dispute between the two countries. The presidency has said, the presidency has said the Maghreb-Euro pipeline carries Algerian natural gas to Spain through Morocco, with Rabat being paid a royalty for passage. Morocco also uses some of the gas to produce about 10% of its electricity. The Algerian authorities decided to not renew their gas contract, which ended on Sunday. Sonatrach had announced it will keep supplying Spain with natural gas through the Medgaz pipeline only. However, the undersea facility has a smaller capacity, and Algeria has suggested that it will be upgraded or gas be shipped to Spain instead of Qatar for the shortfall. Algeria and Morocco have fallen out over a number of issues, with Algeria recently cutting off diplomatic relations and banning Moroccan flights from its airspace. Algeria accuses Rabat of supporting Algerian separatists and using Israel technology to spy on its officials. We head over to South Africa, and South Africans are voting in the 6th round of local government elections since the 1994 elections that ended white minority rule. People are electing local decision makers for their communities and not the political party to lead the country at large. They will vote for district councillors, and mayors will be tasked with the delivery of basic services like water, sanitation, waste removal, electricity and road maintenance. However, voter apathy remains high. The Independent Electoral Commission has said a third of eligible voters still haven't registered to cast the ballots, and more than 320 political parties are contesting in today's election. The governing African National Congress Party faces a tough test following a string of corruption scandals and infighting. The official opposition Democratic Alliance hopes to increase its footprint by independent candidates and nearly formed parties like Action South Africa are also likely to gain some level of support. We head over to Liberia, and those close to ex-Liberian President Charles Taylor are expressing for his constitutional benefits, which the family says have not been paid by the authorities since he stepped down under pressure and went into exile in Nigeria in 2003. Taylor, who is 73 years old, is serving a 50-year jail sentence in the UK for supporting rebels in the decade-long civil war in neighboring Sierra Leone. His family has filed a complaint at the Court of West African Regional Body ECOWAS to ensure that the Liberian government is made to pay up what it owes. The former chairman of Taylor's National Patriotic Party, Cyril Allen, said in a radio interview it was right to turn to the regional court for redress because successive post-Taylor governments haven't shown interest in paying the ex-president's benefits. Under Liberian law, top former officials are due to certain benefits annually. A member of the Taylor defense team told the BBC before the family headed to the ECOWAS court, they had argued the case before the full bench of the Supreme Court in 2014 and 2018, but there has been no ruling to date. An official of the court said he was going to check the court docket to know the status of the Taylor's case. And we go to Mali, and thousands of Malians took to the streets of the capital Bamako over the weekend to protest against what they see as foreign interference by ECOWAS, West Africa's regional bloc, and France, the former colonial power. They have both been pressing the military junta to agree a democratic transition. Demonstrators gathered at Bamako's Independence Square and chanted anti-French slogans, the main activist group that called for the rally, along with a group of pro-junta politicians. And then we go to Tunisia, where Tunisians on social media have expressed concern at President Kais Said's call for the true Tunisian nationalists to clean up the country from those who have embezzled the country's funds. Speaking at a ministerial meeting, the president did not specify who were the true nationalists, nor did he identify those who had embezzled the country's funds. It is seen by many as a divisive move and a dangerous call for the president's supporters to harass his opponents. Mr. Said has been under pressure from political parties and organizations in the country, as well as the international community, to restore the democratic institutions in the country. And then we head over to Sudan, and the United Nations has urged the Sudanese military to show restraint towards people protesting against the Monday's coup and not to create any more victims. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said people must be allowed to demonstrate peacefully. Health workers say at least 8 people have been killed and nearly 200 injured by the security forces who have fired tear gas and rubber bullets. So soldiers have been tearing down barricades and searching and arresting people. Activists are calling for a million march. On Saturday, and the U.S. President Joe Biden has called recent events a grave setback and demanded a restoration of the civilian-led transitional government. And then still staying with matters Sudan, and this time it's from South Sudan. And President Salva Kiir of South Sudan has called for dialogue among Sudanese political actors in order to resolve their differences peacefully. On Sunday, Kiir dispatched a high-level delegation to Khartoum to meet with the Sudanese leaders on the political crisis. The delegation, comprising the Foreign Affairs Minister Maik Ayi, Investment Minister Dio Mardok, and the Presidential Advisor on Security Tut Gatluak, among other government officials, delivered Kiir's message to coup plotters. In a statement seen by iRadio, the Minister of Foreign Affairs said Kiir particularly appealed to the chairman of the Sudan Transitional Sovereign Council, which overturned the civilian government last Monday. Kiir called upon General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan to open up political space for dialogue and resolve their differences. And then finally, we head over to Nigeria, where the Southeast Council of Traditional Rulers, the noble Christian leaders, on Sunday appealed for the federal government to release the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to them and stop the orgy of killings and destruction in the region. Kanu had been in detention facility of Nigeria's Secret Service since June, and after his extraordinary rendition, which triggered series of unrest in the southeast. It has also resulted in alleged killing of many innocent citizens and destruction of businesses and social activities in the zone. In a joint statement on Sunday, the Southeast Council of Traditional Rulers and representatives of Igbo archbishops and bishops asked the federal government to demilitarize the region. They said the militarization of the region has resulted in the killing of Igbo youths and burning of communities by soldiers. They stated that the heightened inequality and marginalization of the Ndingbo in the scheme of things in Nigeria under the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari remained at the core of the youth restiveness in the region. They warned that until the government took deliberate steps to run a government on the basis of fairness, equity and justice and non-discrimination, this restiveness is likely to continue. Meanwhile, some gunmen on Sunday invaded the Baptist church, Kakao Daji, in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State, killing 2, while scores were said to have been abducted. The president of the Kaduna Baptist Convention, Reverend Ishaya Jangando, confirmed the incident, but noted that exact number of those abducted has yet to be ascertained as of the time of this news bulletin. So that is the latest from the continent of Africa. And so I see the issue of especially the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu is, gaining momentum. Last time we were having this conversation, United Nations Special Rapporteur and several other committees within the United Nations had received the reports, and they addressed their concern over what they termed as the rights abuses towards Kanu in Nigeria, and his abduction and his incarceration. He's been under Nigerian police from June till today. And now this seems to be gaining momentum, and I don't know if President Muhammadu Buhari is seeing where this could go. Now the church has decided we have to add our voice to this. We have to speak up. Enough is enough. Our silence is becoming accomplice to obviously things that are happening that are not okay in the country. We know outside of the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria has become of a very high magnitude, something that the government of Nigeria has been very consistent in refusing to address the issue. And you see now people being abducted all over the place. And just yesterday, at a Baptist church somewhere in Kakua Daji in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State, one of the troubled states and restive states in northern part of Nigeria. They went in there, these abductors took several people, and they killed 2 at a church service. And this has become the norm in Nigeria. This has become the norm. You're no longer safe in church. You're no longer safe going to the mosque. The children are no longer safe going to the schools. You're no longer safe going to the market, because anything can happen. There's a possibility you'll be going to buy your tomatoes and you'll not come back home because there's a likelihood you'll be abducted. So this has become something that has been normalized in Nigeria and continues to baffle me, to be honest with you, because I don't know how a government could be very comfortable that President Buhari last week had a nerve to tell the world that about 12 million Nigerian children are unable to go to school because 1, they're traumatized, and 2, they're afraid they will be abducted. That is how bad it is, that a whole president of a nation will stand, in the nations of the world and make such utterances, knowing very well that it is his government that has failed to offer security to these 12 million Nigerian children who now are afraid, are out of school, do not go to school. And I don't know if he understands the magnitude of that. Okay, and instead of them dealing decisively with these groups that continue to cause insecurity in Nigeria, they refused. They refused to deal with that. They refused to handle the issue of Boko Haram. They refused to handle the issue of banditry. They refused to handle the issue of kidnapping that has now become a very lucrative business in Nigeria. It's like, I don't know if they're working with the local police authorities, security agents, because I don't understand how these things can happen, very smoothly. I've never heard of any of them being arrested, or even I've never heard. Like they came 10 of them and police apprehended 2 or killed 2 or something happened. I've never heard. They always come in, carry out a raid, carry out the abductions, and they go and unhurt. Instead, they leave civilians, scores of them hurt, others killed, like they did yesterday. And how this I don't know what President Buhari has said, because he used to tweet, but now he banned Twitter. So I guess he does not even have his account on Twitter anymore, because that's when you'll hear him coming his office tweeting how he's sending his, messages of condolences and that kind of nonsense, which I think by now Nigerians are supposed to be tired of. Until how long will this president continue to apologize? Over things that he has and can do something about. He is the head of state. He has a mandate, and he does have the powers, and he does have the machinery if he chooses to use whatever he has there in Nigeria. And if that is not enough, if he chooses to bring help from outside and say, you know what, ECOWAS, we have a problem. I'm unable to contain Boko Haram in my country. Banditry is becoming a problem. Can you help me? Can you help me? And get help from outside so that this level of insecurity can be contained. But President Buhari has refused to do that. So he has been very consistent with his lack of, I don't know if I can even get a better word for it. But President Buhari has continued to be a letdown to the people of Nigeria, has continued to be a letdown, especially to the children of Nigeria, whose now future is at a brink, because you don't know if you'll be able to wake up tomorrow alive, okay? You don't know. And I told you here last week when we were talking about this matter, if you look at the photos of the children who are being abducted sometimes in these schools, as young as 4 years old, as young as 5, like you wonder, what kind of people are these? Who are these kidnappers? Who are these bandits in Nigeria who have continued to run that country like it is a banana republic? I just don't get that at all. I don't understand how the rest of Nigerians and the rest of the country will be comfortable while things like this continue to happen, and there will be no demanding for accountability from your top leadership. That baffles me. I don't get that. I don't know how the rest of you are comfortable while things like this are happening, and you will not demand that the government be accountable, that the government assure its people of its safety, the people and their property of its safety, because that is the number one responsibility of a government that is responsible. But I guess that is not how we will categorize or characterize the government of President Buhari. So now, over the weekend, the Southeast Council of Traditional Rulers, the notable Christian leaders, yesterday said enough is enough. Could you, number one, stop proscribing IPOB as a terrorist group? Could you remove that? Could you strike them out? And while you do that, could you, let Nnamdi Kanu go? Could you let him be free? So that is what they did. They said yesterday. So I'll just read a part of what they said. They asked to them, and and they called on the government to stop the orgy of killings and destruction in the region that has been continuing in Southeast. And Kanu has been in detention, a facility of the Nigerian Secret Police since June after his rendition, which triggered a series of unrest in that region. And it has also resulted in alleged killing of many innocent citizens. And I'm putting alleged because I'm a journalist, I have to put that. But I think a lot of information that we receive from you guys that seems to confirm the same things that happen, in Nigeria. So this Southeast Council on Traditional Rulers, representatives of the Igbo Archbishop. So if you have the religious leaders now, they're tired of praying, because I'm sure they've been praying for peace. They've been casting out these insecurity demons, I'm sure. They're like, oh no, our silence might amount to complacency. So now we have to speak out and call on the president and call him out on the things that he's supposed to be doing that he's failing to do. So, but when you have now religious leaders coming out and adding their voice and things like this, now President Buhari, we do have a problem, because it's uncomfortable. It's becoming unbearable for the people of Nigeria. And now people start speaking out. And I don't know, but I guess you really don't care, because your term, is ending soon. He only has next year? And then Nigeria will go to its election. Is it in 2023, I suppose? So maybe he just has nothing to All right, because he's not seeking to run again. He served his 2 terms, and that will be it. So he does not have any motivation to pretend like he's even doing anything, because he's not planning to seek for another elective post again. But that is just sad. The attitude, from the government of Nigeria is just sad, and the manner in which it handles things that are really important to the people. And these religious leaders, and there are also some monarchs there who joined in that, who added their voice in that statement that was released. I didn't get the whole statement, but they had so much to say. And just part of it, they said that President Buhari has particularly militarized that side, the southeastern part of Nigeria. And because of that, it has resulted in the killing of the Igbo youth and banning of communities by soldiers. That's what the religious leaders said yesterday. They stated that the heightened inequality and marginalization of Dingbo in the scheme of things in Nigeria under the regime of President Buhari remained at the core of the youth restiveness in the region. So in other words, if things continue the way they are, then our young people will continue agitating for whatever it is they're agitating for, right? They warned that until the federal government took deliberate steps to run a government on the basis of fairness, equity, justice, and non-discrimination, this restiveness is likely to continue. So that is just what the traditional and also the religious leaders and also part of the monarchs came out yesterday to say in a very worded letter to the government, the federal government of President Muhammadu Buhari. So I'll be waiting to hear, because usually it is his spokesperson, the spokesperson of President Buhari, who's the one who will come out and respond to that. So I'll be waiting to hear what the office of President Buhari will have to say to that. Today's on a Monday, so you'd think these statements were made yesterday. At least the president would have attempted, to respond to them, between yesterday and today, because the issues that these groups here are raising are very fundamental, and they're very and the manner in which they're even accusing the government, any government would want to set the record straight. And so if the government continues to be quiet, then what will be the assumption from the general public? Let me know what you think about that. And of course, another genocide is just happening under our nose, just close door to where I am here in Kenya, and that is in Ethiopia. And apparently the latest from that region is that the Tigrayan forces has taken over other 2 more towns. That will be, let me look for that name. I've forgotten that name. But they've taken over the Dessie and Kombolcha towns just in Ethiopia. And this is worrying because I was just reading another news piece that I forgot to include here in my bulletin, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was appealing to the general public that be prepared when you see these people approaching, these enemies approaching, TPLF or Tigrayans, they're still part of Ethiopia, remember? But he's saying if you see them, now he's already termed them, because he also went ahead and made that silly mistake of proscribing TPLF as a terrorist group. And this is a party, these are people who are in power in Ethiopia for 27 years, and then all of a sudden you're proscribing them as a terrorist group. They will not agree to that, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So now they've taken up arms and they're fighting the government of Ethiopia. And the government of Ethiopia has also been fighting them with all its power and means. And so many civilians have suffered as a result, And so now things have escalated over 1 year, close to 1 year later, things have escalated. I think the war started last year in November, so now I think it's about a year, now that we're in November today, it's about a year since the war started in northern Ethiopia. In Tigray region, and so many people have died. So now the Tigrayan forces have taken over the Dessie and Kombolcha towns, and that has really triggered Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. He thought he had, regained some of these grounds that the Tigrayan forces had taken over earlier on, but there seems to be advancing. And at this point, I'm just curious to know who is supporting the Tigrayan forces. There has to be somebody behind the Tigrayan forces that is helping them fight. The government of Ethiopia, and it cannot be Eritrea, because Eritrea is also supporting the government forces, is supporting Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed and the government forces in committing those atrocities they were committing in the Tigrayan region. So it's a very complicated matters, but the humanitarian crisis now continues, and as I've said, there are innocent people continue to die. And when you hear a leader of a country, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, coming out and saying that civilians now should arm themselves, and if you see anybody that is from Tigray or an enemy, as he terms them, then you have a right to fight them with everything you have. So we are staring at a civil war in the making in Ethiopia. And what makes it even more sadder, it is where we have our African Union headquarters. So where do we run to? Because if we have to meet, then we have to go there, deliberate over the issues that are happening in that country. But so far, African Union is just sitting and folding his hands, releasing statement after statement, but no action is being taken. And it's interesting the way the international community has decided and has continued, I think, to enable the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in committing the atrocities that it has been committing in Tigray before the TPLF decided to fight back. Okay? And the US released a statement, and it's warning Tigrayan forces, they've taken over, it's warning this war is escalating, but they've done nothing. If this was another country, now they would have sanctioned that country, they would have sanctioned the leaders, but they just keep issuing, warnings. So I don't know what is so special about what is happening in Ethiopia, and why the international community has become so complacent and has refused to really, speak strongly about the things that are happening in Ethiopia. That baffles me, and not in a good way. So that is also one of the things that we see happening there in Ethiopia, and a genocide that seems to be in the making, and a civil war that is really cooking. And I think it's just a matter of time before it boils over, and the rest of us now get to suffer the consequences. Because if there's trouble in Ethiopia and the country becomes completely ungovernable, there's going to be an influx of refugees. There's going to be a humanitarian crisis, an increased one. There's so much. The price tag of war is so much that I don't know why countries flutter around when it comes to wars, and why they don't take the peaceful way and just a dialogue way before things escalate to levels where now it becomes a crisis. I don't know why. Usually it's the easier route to take. I don't get that. So that is a situation that we shall continue monitoring for you even as days goes by. And President Salva Kiir of South Sudan already called for dialogue. I just found that to be very hypocritical. So he's calling out for dialogue among Sudanese political actors in order to resolve their differences peacefully, and that is good. But I don't want to hear that coming from President Salva Kiir's mouth, because guess what? He's unable to have a peaceful dialogue in his own countries, to bring in his own country. He only has one country, South Sudan, just leads one country. So he's been unable to bring all the actors together and to have a peaceful dialogue to resolve issues peacefully. That he has been unable to do that, okay, in South Sudan. He's struggling with that. And so he dispatched a high-level delegation to Khartoum to meet with Sudanese leaders on the political crisis. Salva Kiir, you have enough things to do. You have enough articles from the Revitalized Peace Agreement of 2018 to implement in your country. Can we focus on things that really South Sudan, and I do understand, because whatever happens in Sudan really directly affects South Sudan. They're tied on the hip. I know they were divorced from each other, but they still rely on each other in so many things, okay? They still need one another. way. So when one country is not doing well, or when one country is at a crisis, the other one gets to suffer. So I think it is for South Sudan's best interest if Sudan is stable, and it is in Sudan's best interest if South Sudan is stable. And that's why they're each other's mediators. You know, the Prime Minister Abdel Hamdok of Sudan has been the one mediating the issues in South Sudan, and President Salva Kiir has been the one mediating in issues in Khartoum. Okay, so they need each other like that. But on this one, calling on political actors to solve the issues, differences peacefully, you've been unable to do that in your own country, President Salva Kiir. And I don't know what's going on, because you are the IGAD mediator to Ethiopia. Now look at what is happening. I don't know who gave you that responsibility. Not because you're unable to, but I think you have too much to deal with at home, and that you can't focus on any other responsibility that requires, huge amount of your time to actually, find solutions for. Because you have enough things back at home. So I don't know if that was a wise idea on IGAD's part to even have you as the mediator in Ethiopia, because since President Salva Kiir, you're put there as the mediator, things your mediation apparently is not very good there in Ethiopia, because we're not seeing any frauds. Instead, it's just escalation upon escalation. And now the Tigrayan forces are saying we are not interested in talking to Prime Minister's side. They don't care. I don't know, they want to secede. I think that will be the next calls. So they just, things have gotten just, worse. Emmanuel Malwar, South Sudan known when coming to other people's problems than their problems. Emmanuel Malwar, nice to see you this afternoon. Wairegi Samuel, thank you so much for your time. Ricardo, you're saying gratitude, African Diaspora. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And Prince Noble, you're saying no, Buhari is Aso Rock. The man you people are referring to as Buhari is fake. You're saying if Buhari died in February, you even know the date which Buhari rested in peace, I suppose. Onye Chimere, as you're saying, punchline. What? You're giving us a warning. The gospel of Biafra. Us is just fair reporting, okay, and what is happening, okay? But thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Chibuzo Ifezue, thank you so much for your time, Mekene, and the rest of you, Wise Pat. You're saying the thing they presently call President Buhari is just a mask-wearing American design to continue fooling the public. Okay, Wise Pat, thank you so much. And the rest of you, Akek Puchi, you're saying that is a zoo country. Very well, thank you so much. And that is Kwamwom, you're saying usually you're watching from Australia. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So I'll come back tomorrow here, God willing, and then hopefully Buhari would have responded to that letter from the religious leaders, from some monarchs and from some traditional rulers there. They're challenging him and they're saying, could you focus on things that are important? And could you De-Proscribe, IPOB, because it's not a terrorist group? And could you please release, IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu? So we'll see if President Buhari will be able to respond to that, or if at all Aso Rock will be able to issue a statement in that regard. And of course, the issue in Ethiopia and Sudan and Algeria and Morocco, they're having their own war brewing over there. That's another story for another day. I can't get too much into it because my time is way too gone. But thank you so much for your time this afternoon. My name is Miriam Ogotu. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace, but peace depends on us.